Y'all ready for this?
Bravo.
Welcome to Sports Kid Drama Kid. I'm Jim. I'm the Sports Kid.
I'm Andy. I'm the Drama Kid.
And thank you for supporting our show if you're already on our Patreon. If you're not, we have a Patreon.
We sure do.
And you can go over there and sign up for audio or audio and video versions of our podcast and help support the show.
Other ways to help support the show is leaving a review wherever it is that you listen.
Yes, we don't have any ads on our show. We want to keep it that way.
Yes, we are hoping to never have ads.
So the support over on Patreon is the best way to help us out.
Huge.
With that out of the way, Andy, today we're going to change it up a little bit. We're in March as we're recording this.
We are.
But we're not going to talk about basketball for a little bit.
Or spring musical season at high schools everywhere.
Yeah, yes, your March Madness.
That's my March Madness.
Nope. Instead, today we're going to talk about a little game called Pickleball.
Ah, yes.
I'm not even going to do my normal, Andy, what do you know about pickleball?
Because you know it's nothing.
I'm going to start a little bit different with a couple videos.
Okay.
And that'll sort of get us into this.
Set the mood.
And start the story.
Okay.
All right. So to start us off, I'm going to play a little clip from a video called The Pickleball Craze Explained from Vox.
Nice.
Okay, go ahead.
Bouncing a tennis ball on a tennis racket averaged around 70 decibels, which is comparable to the noise level of a busy office. When we measure the sound of a pickleball against a paddle, it clocked in around 80 decibels. That's right where sound becomes loud enough to be irritating. Now, obviously this isn't the most scientific experiment, and of course tennis matches make sound. But the point is, pickleball's equipment, rigid paddles against hollow plastic balls, makes a lot of noise.
So that's our first little tidbit of info.
Okay.
You saw the little comparison between tennis and pickleball and how much louder pickleball
And the
is.
use of the word irritating.
Which leads us right into our second introductory clip. This is a clip from Fox 29 in Philadelphia from 2023.
Okay.
Noise complaints, usually the result of loud music, fireworks, ATVs, parties, a bunch of stuff. But pickleball? It's nowhere on that list, you'd think, but for some in one Philly neighborhood, it's apparently right at the top. Here's our Chris O'Connell.
The wildly popular recreational sport may be a victim of its own success. Some here in Chestnut Hill say pickleball has become a neighborhood nuisance.
I wake up, I hear it. I walk down the steps, I hear it. Open the back door to let the dog out, you hear it.
One of the hottest recreational sports in the country right now happens to be one of the loudest.
Like a pop, 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 and it feels like it's right in our house.
Just ask the residents of the 8100 block of Ardley Street in Chestnut Hill. Their homes sit just feet away from the pickleball courts at the Water Tower Recreational Center run by the city. Since the pandemic, the courts have become a popular place. The noise issue was at the center of a packed public meeting, some residents demanding changes. Some suggested softer balls and paddles and cutting the court's hours. Some just wanted shut down altogether.
You need to stop this immediately.
If not, they're planning a lawsuit against the city for breaking its own noise ordinance.
8-9 months a year, you can't open your windows. Did you ever try and live someplace where you can't open your windows with the racket? That's how loud it is.
So I grew up right near Chestnut Hill.
That's why I picked this. Yeah, these are your people complaining about pickleball.
They are, and the Philly accents. Do you ever
live in a neighborhood? Do you ever live there and you can't open your windows all
can't
summer?
Take my dog out. out.
So this is indicative of a lot of news reports like this.
This is just annoying.
All around the country. This is one of many such news reports where people have complained about the noise caused by the sport of pickleball. And it seems like every community has their version of this. Here's another really quick one just to prove my point from Maine.
It's like a I hate to do that, sound like a kid's toy, but that's what it sounds like, and it just reverberates right through this whole valley here.
Ellis and other neighbors now oppose a proposal to add 2 new pickleball courts in these woods behind the clubhouse, which also includes a plan to reduce the noise.
The courts won't reduce the noise. What will reduce the noise is the way that we're going to do the fencing.
Oh my God.
So there's another one. So, just proving my point.
This is so funny. That guy's standing in a cornfield, basically. I mean, it does suck. You don't move to an area that's that rural. Unless you want some quiet.
Yeah, your neighbors making noise are mostly deer.
Yeah. Do they make noise?
No. And maybe if you put out too many salt licks.
Was the noise of licking?
I guess.
Like deer ASMR on a salt lick?
In which case, put a microphone up and you have yourself a YouTube channel.
You're breaking in passive income.
Oh, man, that's what we should be doing. Let's stop.
It's been really fun. Thank you so much. We are going to try our hand at deer ASMR. Yeah. We'll be back next week when that doesn't work.
Yeah. Okay. So some tennis players also hate pickleball, as you could imagine, but for a different reason, and that's for taking over all of their courts.
Yes, I've seen this.
So tennis courts have never had really an overcrowding issue because tennis is only mildly popular and takes a certain level of practice, training.
It's a bougie sport.
Equipment.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here's a sort of disjointed video that gets to this issue. So basically what's happening here is there's a kids' summer tennis camp that always takes place on this set of tennis courts near San Diego. But when they all show up, adult pickleball players are occupying the courts for the camp, and then it causes some chaos.
Oh my God.
Get off this court!
Freedom of speech.
Go! Get out of here! I don't play pickleball.
Jacob.
They actually are watching you guys
That's
being
right.
disrespectful.
Hey, paraded your children out. It's okay.
During their tennis camp.
It's over there, right?
This is their summer.
It's for tennis only. Yeah, we understand that. We met with the city. They said no one has a permit to this place, so we're allowed to be here.
To leave now?
Oh my God.
Is it a temporary permit?
He will be able to. Yes, he will.
Would you bring it out for us?
I'm not going to tell you that.
Okay, clearly these people have never signed up for rehearsal space for their improv team and gotten double booked.
Oh my God. You're doing long form in one half of the space, and experimental musical theater in the other.
I mean, I almost I don't want to blame the camp, but why didn't you reserve the courts?
So I think what happened here is, this from it being in Chicago, all the big tennis court complexes, I'm sure they do talk to the cities, but they show up there for big summer tennis camps.
Oh, yeah.
And this seemed like what they were doing. It was like a complex of 4 or 8 courts, and they had a whole summer camp planned, and they had, their banners put up on the fencing and everything. And it's like a summer tennis camp. And then pickleball players show up to prove a point with some document they got from the city that technically says no one owns these courts.
God.
Yeah, and that's what he was talking about. He's like, I have a permit here. Do you have one? And they showed up and took the kids off their tennis court.
Okay, but that's so messed up. They knew the tennis camp was happening.
Yeah.
They were like, let's go to City Hall and get some forms.
Okay, so what's causing all this discomfort? What is this noisy game being played on tennis courts and upsetting people in most communities? It's the game of pickleball. Andy, here's where I'm going to ask you, what do you know about pickleball?
Well, it's basically you take ping pong and you marry it with tennis and you get this in-between game that is ping pong without a ping pong table, ping pong on a court, on a larger scale.
For sure. So the basic equipment is a paddle and a plastic ball that's a little heavier duty than a traditional wiffle ball.
Yeah.
And then to explain the game, because we want to get that out of the way first, I'm going to play this potentially AI generated video.
Pickleball is the fastest growing sport in the United States, in part because it has a very short learning curve.
This is a brief introduction on how to play pickleball.
Yeah, this is definitely AI.
Pickleball is played on a rectangular 44-foot by 20-foot court. The court is divided into 2 sides by a low net.
There are 2 sidelines, 2 baselines, a center line on each side, as well as 2 non-volley lines, which create 2 non-volley zones that are affectionately called the kitchen.
The center line divides each side into 2 service courts: the left service court and the right service court. Every point begins with a serve.
A pickleball serve must be hit underhand from behind the baseline, cross court into the opposing team's service court.
Underhand.
The serve must clear the net and not land in the kitchen. An important rule in pickleball is the double bounce rule. The double bounce rule says the ball must bounce once on each side before either team may start volleying the ball in the air. The rally will continue until one of the teams either hits the ball in the net, out of bounds, or lets the ball bounce on their side twice. A unique but important aspect of pickleball is the non-volley zone or kitchen. Players may not hit the ball while standing in the kitchen unless the ball has already bounced on their side.
Thank you, content robot.
Yeah.
That was a good description. I feel like I mostly understood that mainly because I grew up taking some tennis lessons.
Yeah, the unique thing about pickleball is the kitchen zone, where like you can't volley the ball in the kitchen while standing in the kitchen.
Right. I
so
feel
you
like
can't
that's
just stand right front and hit it
that
back.
seems like something that would cause a lot of arguments because
Yeah.
someone has like a chunk of their
just
toe.
a little tip of the toe.
Tip
you
of
were in
the
the kitchen. Whether or not you want to call that or not.
This is reminding me, the other thing I know about pickleball is just another term. I don't know what it means, but that's dinking.
Yes. Dinking is something I've heard too, and that's putting the ball like right in that little kitchen zone and just playing real
close
just
to
barely hit it over and
I
dink it.
see. Because like you can't step into the kitchen. You would have to like lean over to hit it. Or you would let it bounce.
And that's why you can just be dinking back and forth.
I mean, the main
right in
thing
front of the
I
net.
think about when I become aware of pickleball is that, when I've said this to you, you would probably be amazing. Like, I feel like it's inevitable for us at some point that we will try it and you will be excellent at it.
I'm sure that I would love it. I have not picked up a paddle currently. I'm always tempted to when we walk by. But yeah, that's the explanation of pickleball. You've now seen it be played, and you've now heard some version of Alexa talk through it. It's kind of a game that seems like a backyard game.
Yeah, it does. It reminds me of, we used to put like a net, badminton. That's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
In my backyard when I was growing up, before kids were in front of AOL and AI.
Yeah.
We had badminton. We would put up a net and you have the little birdie thing and the.
That actually makes me think of, at all the big family gatherings that we hosted at my house growing up, there would be these games, but there would always be one game that everyone loved the most. And that was a game that we sort of made up. And my dad carved a paint can sized or a little bit bigger hole halfway down a large hill that was in the front of our house.
Okay.
And everyone would throw 6 bocce balls and try to roll it in or get closest to it.
Oh.
And there would be 50 people because we had a big family.
Down
at
the hill?
Party. Everyone would get a shot.
That's fun.
To roll 6 balls. And so at the end of the day, they would crown a champion. It was going on all day. My dad's just down there with a Miller Lite or a High Life, monitoring this hole the whole day. It was so fun because you could check in, and whenever someone made one, because it didn't happen that often, the whole yard would be like, oh my God, someone must have made
funny.
one.
Were you throwing or rolling?
Sort of lofting and rolling, but it was downhill. So
I see.
It was like bowling, but you had to kind of judge your release.
Yeah.
So the reason I bring up that story about our family creating the rolling game is because that's kind of how pickleball started. And for the explainer of how this started, I think we'll just go right to the USA Pickleball history site, and I'll have you read, Andy, the copy from that sort of explains the story of the founding.
After playing golf one Saturday during the summer, Joel Pritchard, Republican congressman from Washington State, and Bill Bell, successful businessman, returned to Pritchard's home on Bainbridge Island, Washington, near Seattle, to find their families sitting around with nothing to do. The property had an old badminton court, so Pritchard and Bell looked for some badminton equipment and could not find a full set of rackets. They improvised and started playing with ping pong paddles and a perforated plastic ball. At first, they placed the net at badminton height of 60 inches and volleyed the ball over the net. As the weekend progressed, the players found that the ball bounced well on the asphalt surface, and soon the net was lowered to 36 inches. The following weekend, Barney McCallum was introduced to the game at Pritchard's home. Soon, the three men created rules, relying heavily on badminton. They kept in mind the original purpose, which was to provide a game that the whole family could play together. The game was named Pickleball, but the actual reason for that name is not totally understood. You'll often see that the name came from Pritchard's family dog that was named Pickles. Pickles is a really good dog name. But further investigation proved that the dog came after the game was invented, so that was just used as a folksy origin story. The real name either came from Joel Pritchard's wife, who named it after a rowing term, or Bill Bell, one of the creators, who said that he enjoyed hitting the ball in a way that put his opponent in a pickle. And like, when was this?
This was in 1965.
Okay, so this has been around for quite some time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's quaint. I was like, what era is this that people were like in the backyard and we're like, we're so bored? Because I'm like, the internet exists.
No.
Like,
It's way before that. 1965. Pickleball goes back.
That's why I asked, because I was like, no one would do this now. They'd be like, let's just like go inside and like, I don't know, find something dumb to watch.
Do we have iPads with Skibbity Toilet?
Skibbity Toilet? What is that?
It's like a Gen Alpha meme.
Okay, now this episode is about Skibbity Toilet.
So I'm going to play you a little video of Barney McCallum talking about the first pickleball paddles. Because after they invented this in like 1965 and they were coming up with the rules, they were like, we don't really want ping pong paddles like they initially found or whatever they had. And they quickly made a larger paddle.
Okay.
And Barney McCallum was the guy with the woodworking experience of the friend group. Yeah, he's not the Republican politician or the businessman. And this is from a little like mini doc, of which there are so many. Like, so many people have made the pilgrimage to Bainbridge and tried to talk to the original owners. But this was done 4 years ago.
Lame.
And this is Barney McCallum.
The kids had ping pong paddles. And I just went in and got a piece of 3/8 plywood. And this is the way this has been done. And cut paddles. I did that on the bandsaw. And this is probably an example of the ugliest paddle that was ever built and lasted maybe one weekend. That was the paddle I made. And that has not changed. There are 400 people now making pickleball paddles.
I bet you every single person that's like, oh, let's get out to Bainbridge and interview these guys, then sat across from them and they were like, oh no, we should have just left them alone, probably.
No, yeah. But anyway, Barney McCallum is always recalling in every one of these things where he was interviewed the times when he came up with the paddle.
It's such an old man thing to be like, I need to get the specifics of like the wood and the saw that I use.
Yeah. And I did that on a bandsaw. I thought that was amazing. So Joel Pritchard was the actual founder of the game. This is like his house where it took place.
Okay.
And Joel Pritchard, the founder of Pickleball, started his career in politics as a state-level Republican representative in Washington state.
Mm-hmm.
He then went on to win a term as Republican state senator. During that term, from 1967 to 1971, Andy, can you guess what issue the creator of Pickleball was most known for legislatively as a Republican senator?
From 67 to 71?
Yeah.
Oh no, is he like staunchly anti-abortion or something?
Andy, I blacked out a little area
Oh no.
so that you wouldn't see it. And I'm going to have you highlight over that and then go up to the little highlighter and hit none.
I know how Google Docs works.
Okay.
In 1970, Pritchard introduced a bill allowing abortions in the first 4 months of pregnancy. It was approved and went to the voters as Referendum 20. The measure was approved by voters in November 1970, making Washington the first state in which abortion was legalized by a popular vote. Pritchard worked with a bipartisan committee of men and women who heavily relied on the advice of medical professionals to make their case for legal abortion. So yes, the founder of Pickleball, Joel Pritchard, was a key figure in the fight to legalize abortion in the U.S., and he was a Republican?
Yes.
Oh.
This blew my mind.
This is mind-blowing.
This from the Washington State Legislature's history website. As a state senator, Pritchard was the chief architect of the liberalization of the state's abortion law. He was a noted supporter of civil rights, environmental legislation, anti-gambling measures, and other reforms.
This is shocking. This is absolutely like shaking me, my very foundation, because as soon as you said the word Republican, this whole time I've been like, ugh.
I knew it.
Heavily relied on the advice of medical professionals.
Yes.
Oh
So
my God.
that was just such a mind-blowing thing when I first found that out, because I, like you, went into this. I saw that. on the first day I was researching this and I saw that he was a Republican politician. I was like, gotta look into that.
Yeah.
That's probably going to be juicy in terms of his record. Now, I didn't look at his entire voting record.
No.
Who knows what else this guy voted on?
Who knows?
But in his Wikipedia page even, and everywhere you see him, he is known as the founder of pickleball and not as one of the main architects of legal abortion in the U.S.
See, that to me is more offensive than the noise created by pickleball. Like, every pickleball paddle should have, like, pro-choice written on it.
Yes, exactly. So the creators of the game, Pritchard Bell and the paddle guy,
McCallum,
worked to popularize their new game by getting it into gym class curriculums in the Washington area and out west, and into the activity lists at retirement homes, also out west initially. I looked up pickleball in the newspapers.com archive and just sort of saw when it started coming up. And the first sort of story that I found was Washington's Governor Dan Evans was pictured in 1970 playing pickleball.
Wow.
Yeah. And it just says Governor's pickleball form. Governor Dan Evans slams return in the pickleball demonstration match Saturday.
I love
so
it.
there were demonstration matches going on. They were trying to like do exactly this, get the governor of the state, because using Joel's connections, they could have the governor play and then maybe get him photographed. And they were trying to do a real grassroots effort.
Well, did you get an understanding of like what the reasoning was? Like, were they trying to make money off of it? Were they just trying to encourage like activity and fitness?
I think activity and fitness, I think just like making the game a bigger thing. And I do think right from the beginning, it was about money and making a business out of it. Hey, people seem to like this.
Yeah.
There's paddles. We could sell paddles. We could sell balls, sell kits. Here's another what is pickleball story that I found from, I think, 1976 that sort of just shows the type of pickleball story that usually was happening around then, and then honestly was happening until not that long ago, which is just a generic what is pickleball story. Can you just read like a little bit?
Yeah. Pickleball is A, an hors d'oeuvre on the sour side, B, a Christmas tree ornament, C, a delicatessen decoration, D, none of the above. If you chose D, give yourself a prize. It's a game invented by Representative Joel Pritchard, Republican, Seattle, and the brother-in-law of Governor Dan Evans, Bill Bell. And lately, interest in it has picked up. Evans has installed a pickleball court at the Executive Mansion. A local high school has purchased the necessities for the game, and recently a court, balls, and paddle were donated for auction to a fundraising event.
Yeah, so the general pickleball story that usually happens is just like, what is pickleball?
What is it?
And that story happens a lot because people don't know what it is because they're like, that's a stupid name. What is it? And they still are sensing that not enough people know what it is. So they always feel the need to explain it. So that's a lot of what's going on.
And then that would continue to happen for the next 40, 50 years.
So throughout the 1980s and 90s, I found a lot of newspaper stories, mostly in the Northwestern states like Washington, California, and Utah, that mention pickleball, mostly in the form of reminders to sign up for intramural pickleball or a pickleball tournament hosted by a local retirement home or community organization. So their grassroots effort to like put this into schools and retirement communities is kind of working, but it's not really working in a big
It's not
way.
working on like a national level. Because I was about to say, like, maybe we can take a second here. The games I remember playing in gym class were definitely weird and definitely made up.
Yeah.
But they were not pickleball. I vividly remember some gym activity that was like a form of like flag football-ish, but you were sitting on like a wheeled scooter. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I remember those scooters, but I don't remember the
It was
flag.
like a wood plank with wheels on it,
Yes.
and then you sat on it. And maybe I'm conflating two things, but you were also wearing like a flag belt thing, you know, like a little belt that had like a Velcro flag on it, and you were just like rolling or scooting around the gym, like ripping flags off people. Is that
I don't remember that. But that feels like a version of, like tag on scooters.
There was always like some weird thing where they were like, all right, here's this weird exercise equipment in like a mesh bag that smells like, you know, sweat and gym. And like everybody just put on, was it a penny? Is that what they were called? Yep. Everybody put on a penny. And then like all the guys in the class be like, we should do shirts and skins.
Yeah. My favorite game, I think, was our gym teacher in elementary school would set up like an obstacle course, and all the kids had to get from one side of the gym to the other without touching the floor.
Oh, that's
Only
fun.
using
Oh, like the
all
floor,
the
like
stuff.
floor is lava.
The floor is lava at the gym with different mats and like things, everything.
That's actually fun. Yeah. I have vivid memories of those weird little scooters, and then I have vivid negative memories of the Smile Mile, which was you just ran a mile, but it was elementary school. And like, I feel like looking back, there was just this overall tone of like, yeah, they're elementary schoolers. They can run a mile. They have tons of energy. And like those of us who were, you know, on the larger side could not run a mile that easily. And it was very embarrassing. And I remember having like nightmares about the Smile Mile.
That name is pretty bad then.
Yeah.
More like a frown trot.
Anyway, I just wanted a departure because I do remember, I don't know what gym class is looking like these days, but I do remember it feeling a lot like there's an adult, he was given some weird equipment, and we're just going to see what happens.
Really no response for frown trot? Okay.
Frown trot?
Yeah.
Did you make a joke?
Yeah.
What did you say?
I said really more of a frown trot.
I'm sorry. I wasn't listening.
Okay, so now we'll fast forward a little bit through the 90s, through the 2000s. Similar stories, similar growing in retirement communities, growing at schools. What is pickleball? In 2011, I found an Arizona Republic article about pickleball resulting in noise complaints. And here they mention USA Pickleball, which is an organization of 350 ambassadors, or it was at the time, who put effort into growing the game. So these are the foot soldiers on the ground.
Ambassadors.
Growing the game since the mid-2000s. And pickleball, like I said, became popular in retirement homes because of this effort, mostly in Arizona and Florida. And then it spread to places like Michigan when the snowbirds returned home after playing it on vacation.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Makes sense.
So mentions of pickleball in my newspaper archive search went way up starting in 2016 and have only grown since. So
if you're ever curious about when something started popping up in the news, send Jim a message and he'll search it for you on his newspaper's account.
Yes, as you pay a handsome fee to be able to do that. An article in the Port Charlotte Sun from 2016 talked about the growth of pickleball. And in that piece, they mentioned pickleball really grew starting in 2008 when seniors started playing in Florida and out west. So another piece of evidence sort of backing up the senior theory.
It makes sense that it is known now as a game that a lot of older folks play. So.
And that's because, I guess we can talk about this year, it's pretty low impact for a game like that. And a lot of older people can play it at a high level and a competitive level while not needing like immense physical skill.
And I can see it being more stimulating than like shuffleboard, for example.
And it has a ceiling that allows it to be played by younger people who play it at like a really high, intense level.
Yeah, so if you're like a teenager going to visit your grandmother in her Florida retirement home, it's not a fully wasted week because you could just waste all the old geezers in pickleball.
Or more likely get wasted by them. So here's a CNBC video that shows some good infographics about the growth of pickleball during the time when it really took off, and that is the pandemic.
Pickleball has been around since 1965, but its story really begins during the pandemic. From 2016 to 2019, pickleball grew 7%. The years of the pandemic, the sport exploded by 21% and nearly 15% growth each year. Over the last 5 years, pickleball's average annual growth is an estimated 11.5%. To put that into perspective, badminton and ping pong, they both lost players, while tennis grew by 4.2%. Pickleball is also played by a wide spectrum of players from various age demographics and income levels.
So, yes, the pandemic really bolstered the growth because, like they said there, people are playing and looking for an activity when they're inside.
Yeah.
And I think we could probably speak to that. Like, all of a sudden, you see it everywhere in Chicago.
I was like, I need to know the stats on like sourdough bread making compared to this, because I feel like a lot of hobbies that have been around for a long time all of a sudden like skyrocketed, like puzzles.
Yeah.
And pickleball makes sense because, you know, you can play it inside, but like what was a big thing during the pandemic, like being out in the fresh air, like especially if you wanted to, you know, do an activity with people who were not in like your safe circle of people, you should have been outside.
Yes.
So it does make sense.
So yeah, the pandemic is one of the big spots where pickleball really takes off. People are buying kits. People are buying rackets. They're going out to their tennis courts and converting them and pissing off tennis players. But this is where we just see a huge growth in this game because of all the factors.
I mean, I remember like when we moved to this neighborhood in like 2021. So like it wasn't the absolute height of the pandemic, but it was still very present. But we would go to the park and like people had like totally taken over the tennis courts of like, they would take a regular size tennis court and then split it into 2 pickleball courts, and like every court was taken over.
So due to the massive growth of the game in communities around the US, an audience for watching pickleball emerged around that time too. And so did 3 professional pickleball leagues.
Interesting.
Each of these are vying to be the one league that becomes like the main pro pickleball league.
I see.
You have 3 leagues. One is the APP, Association of Pickleball Professionals, founded in 2019. There's the PPA, Professional Pickleball Association, which was started by the Pardo family in Utah.
Okay.
And then you have MLP, Major League Pickleball. And that is more of a team format where it's co-ed and there's different teams that play like each set of a match. Like different, like some will be mixed, some will be whatever. And they're trying to really make like the more global pickleball that's accessible to everyone.
Okay.
The PPA is more golf, sort of like where there's like an overall leaderboard ranking of the best players in the world. And each week they get points and stuff. So the PPA.
You know how I feel about when organizations are like, we're different. We're just rearranging the 3 letters.
Yeah. So the PPA and the MLP actually just combined into one organization. So it's already started the buying up and monopolizing.
There can't be 3. There can only be one.
Only be one. Well, there's technically 2 now, but these 2 are really making a case to be the only one. The MLP, which is sponsored by Margaritaville.
No.
Because of course it is. Yes.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Is Margaritaville like a brand?
Yeah, I guess so. Wasting away.
I was about to say, because like I was like, it's not a place.
No.
I mean, it's a place in our dreams.
Yeah.
But okay.
Yeah.
Great.
So there's, the MLP owned by Margaritaville, which they still are sponsored by. And then Carvana sponsors the PPA tour.
I'm sad it's not like Tommy Bahama or something.
It could be in the future. But those 2 are like technically now under the same ownership group, but they're staying their own brands. So for this episode, I watched a lot of news stories generally about like the rise of pickleball. And they all mention everything we've covered so far. They often mention the noise and the humble beginnings of pickleball in Washington, the rising popularity connected to the pandemic, everyone's need to get outside and stay close to home for exercise. All this is fair and true, but I kept thinking, how does this game go from like a backyard game that makes too much noise into a massively popular sport in its own right? Like, we're not playing horseshoes in the park or like bocce in every green space except for the old guys who drink Franzia in Wells Park near us.
I was about to say there's a group of older men who play bocce in the park every week, and the section of the park where they play smells like boxed wine.
Partially because of the boxed wine, and partially because they all pee on the trees after they drink the boxed wine. They don't go home.
No.
They keep playing bocce, and they pee on the trees.
And like, it's not a park with like a good tree cover.
It's a city park.
But yeah, the whole section of the park smells like a chillable red.
Yes, chillable red. That's our park, and for some reason that hasn't caught on everywhere.
No, it hasn't.
But pickleball has, and I was thinking, okay, it got seeded out to old people through retirement homes and stuff like that. So do a lot of things. Why this game? And now I'm going to go through just sort of a bunch of like buckets of things and people that I looked into that are contributing to the growth of pickleball.
I see.
And we'll start with one that we've already kind of mentioned, and that is baby boomers. More people are hitting the retirement age than ever right now. And pickleball was fed to them by ambassadors for years. They liked it, and it's grown from there, on its own.
We just watched Dune, so I'm like, the Bene Gesserit have told all of the boomers that they need to play pickleball.
So that's definitely part of the reason. Just like literally there are more people in this age group playing the game that people in that age group are starting to like. So big audience. But because we live in America, I figured one of the best places to look would be to sort of follow the money in pickleball, the investors and the stakeholders that helped grow the game. And there are a lot.
That's always where you find the truth. You're like, who's making money off of this?
Pickleball is seen as a hot investment right now with everyone who fancies themselves an investor or wants to be an investor.
That is so funny. Like it was Apple for a long time of like, you didn't get in on the ground floor. You're dumb. Now it's pickleball.
You missed out on Google and now they're doing AI stuff. You could have made so much. I'm sure that there are even more people and organizations that have contributed to the growth of pickleball, but here are some of the big ones that I looked into. The first one is the state of Utah and the LDS Church.
Oh, no. I knew this was coming. As soon as you said one of the major ones was from Utah, I was like,
So this is based on a couple different things. So in 2003, I found an article that mentions a guy named Don Odell. He was one of the ambassador type pickleball guys. Like he liked it, wanted to spread it. And he pushed to get pickleball into St. George's, Utah, and the Huntsman World Senior Games competition, which is like a Olympics thing that happens in
for
St.
the
George.
elderly.
Yeah, for the elderly
Awesome.
of all different kinds of games. And also in this article, he mentioned sort of offhandedly that he hopes to make connections with the LDS Church and promote a healthy lifestyle through pickleball because they're really into promoting a healthy lifestyle as like part of their belief. So you don't have to go too far to make the leap that like this was actually like fed into the LDS community because they thought this would be something family friendly, athletic that everyone could do.
Yes.
And it took off there. Here's a little bit more on Don Odell and the Huntsman World Senior Games. I actually think it's really cool what they do, and I wanted to play a little video.
Cool.
My name is Don Odell, and I'm playing in pickleball, this Huntsman World Senior Games. Well, I found pickleball in the community I lived in the Sacramento area. A neighbor had a pickleball court in his backyard, so that's how I learned. Didn't play much until we moved here.
The state didn't have pickleball until Don Odell sponsored the sport, convinced the developer here that he needed to put some pickleball courts in.
Well, the reason we brought it to St. George was a couple things. We thought it would be a great addition to the community. It's a sport that really fit into a senior community. And then we were able to talk to the Huntsman people about including pickleball in the Huntsman World Senior Games.
The Huntsman World Senior Games is the largest annual multi-sport event in the whole world for athletes age 50 and over. We offer 27 different sports.
This
we always
is so
take place
sweet.
in October here in St. George, Utah, and we love it. The Huntsman World Senior Games is all about trying to offer sports and events to people who want to come and play. And when Don Odell approached the committee back in the day about introducing pickleball, I think there were some eyebrows that were raised. You know, with a name like pickleball, is this a legitimate sport or where is this going to go? But he was very adamant and very passionate about the sport, and he came with enough information that it made sense.
That's very sweet, honestly. Like, I do really like the aspect of like it is a sport that people of different ages, mobility levels, whatever. Like, I love how accessible.
Yeah.
You know, we've talked about this a little bit before. I can't remember if it's on the podcast or just, you know, we live together. But when you love a sport and you pursue it a lot as like a kid and an adolescent and like maybe even into college, once you're out of like an academic program and you have not become a professional athlete, which most people don't become professional athletes, like what do you do? Like you still enjoy being active, you still enjoy playing a sport. So like I really, really like that pickleball is offering people who are like, I'm an athletic person, I want to be social. Because that's the other aspect of it too. I was like, I mean, I have definitely questioned, like, why is this sport so popular? Like, why are so many people getting into it? Adults don't know how to make friends. And so having like a structure and a focal point where you don't have to be making like small talk about yourself the entire time, huge.
Yeah.
Huge.
Totally. So a couple last things for the argument for Utah being part of the reason why pickleball grows. If you just do a simple Google search query or whatever on the term pickleball, there's way more searches for pickleball in Utah than any other state.
Yeah.
And then lastly, for that argument is the Pardo family. They're this rich real estate family from Utah. And this guy, Jordan Pardo, worked for his parents' real estate company and then took a bunch of the money and started the PPL in Utah. So one of the leagues started there.
I see.
From this family. So next up is Pickleball Central. This is the classic gold rush thing where the providers of all the tools for pickleball make a ton of money off of it, therefore sort of encouraging the growth of the thing.
Yeah.
And I'm going to play a little bit of a video that features Anna Copley, who is one of the founders of Pickleball Central.
The Sports Fitness Industry Association now reports that there are over 3.1 million pickleball players in the United States alone. You still have the basic shape that Barney cut out. What started as just a backyard game on Bainbridge Island has now spread not only throughout the United States, but also throughout the world. So we sell thousands of these nets. It's an incredible product. They set up in 5 minutes, they take down in 5 minutes. You can set up a court anywhere, driveway, cul-de-sac, park, and they're the canary in the coal mine. Every time we sell a net, we know that's like planting a seed. A special favorite of people's.
It's not what canary in the coal mine means.
Where they have over 182 pickleball courts. The cover of Tennis Magazine, April 2018, was devoted to pickleball.
This whole point here about Pickleball Central is the makers of all the equipment is part of the reason why it's growing, because there's a huge business there. So they're encouraging growth. Even if it's not for like the love of the game, it's for the growing of the game so that people buy more stuff.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now we're going to get into individual folks. And the first one I'm going to mention is Steve Kuhn.
Okay.
Steve Kuhn is a former hedge fund manager and Austin, Texas-based billionaire. He owns a bottled water company called Richard's Rainwater because, of course, a billionaire is buying into water because it's going to be, a resource that everyone needs.
Yeah, because they're going to withhold it from us. Yeah.
He's the founder of a nonprofit called Ideal Immigration, where he's trying to lobby the government to come up with better immigration systems.
Okay.
I'm not really sure how effective this has been yet, or if there's any movement on it.
I also just wonder what he means by that.
Yeah, I don't know. I really tried to look into it, but the actual website doesn't exist, and it instead goes to a manufacturer of fountain pens.
What?
Yeah, it's completely random. It's probably just like a website mistake, link mistake. But if you go to idealimmigration.us, it goes to Conway Stewart fountain pens.
Oh my God.
So
wow,
who knows if he's working on that or what that actually means.
That's a real mystery.
He built a pickleball mecca of sorts on a property called Dreamland outside of Austin, Texas. He founded and ran the MLP, the biggest league that sort of combined recently, and he ran that until the recent merger where he stepped down from leadership. Here's a video of Steve. And this is him sort of talking about the future of pickleball and why he's so passionate about it.
I really do think pickleball could save America. I don't think that's overstating the case. That this is a sport that can magically change our country and make it a happier, healthier place. Most pickup courts on a rec league, people are not sorted by gender, they're not sorted by age. So the next 4 paddles are up. You put your paddle in the rack, and the next 4 paddles go on the court. And that's always been the spirit of the sport, is that everyone's welcome. Everyone's welcome to come out and do their best. It reminds us that we are not members of just a group. We're not just blue or red, or we're not just old or young. We have more in common than we think, and this sport reminds us all of that. I think that is something that will really bring our country back together. And I believe that not only can pickleball save America, maybe pickleball can save the world.
So responses to that.
I mean, he's out of his mind, but it's a nice sentiment.
Pickleball could save America.
I mean, here's the thing. I'm so jaded that there's always a large portion of me that's like, nothing can save us now. We're too far gone. I don't disagree with the overall vibes. Yeah, I would love for there to be something that unites the country. Is it pickleball? Probably not.
So his Dreamland Ranch has tons of pickleball courts. He put billions of dollars, millions of dollars into this. And he's paying for global professional players to live on the grounds of the ranch and teach and train in pickleball. I'm going to have you read from a 2023 Austin Monthly article just about this little operation that he has of bringing in players.
Okay. After growing up in Lithuania, Lina Padagimeta spent her college years playing tennis on a full scholarship at the University of Texas at Austin, so she's no stranger to the capital city. Yet starting a new chapter as a pro pickleball player in Kuhn's peculiar hamlet has made it feel like a completely fresh start. Quote, "There's just so much space. It feels open and like there's room to breathe," she says. Paddy Mehta is one of 4 international players living on the Dreamland grounds. There's Dekel Bar, a former tennis professional who moved to the U.S. from Israel in 2020 and is now one of pickleball's top-ranked men. Vivian David hails from Canada, and rounding out the borders is DJ Young from Spain. All of them are housed in modular tiny homes that Kuhn had trucked in as part of a plan to grow the sport and emphasize his goal of global unity.
So yeah, he's making like a pickleball ranch.
It's a ranch, but it's also maybe a cult.
Yes. Here's a little news story from Dreamland about hosting, I think, one of the first big MLP events.
Okay.
So what can people expect when they come here if they decide to come this weekend?
Oh my gosh. Well, if they come this weekend in particular, we have all the things we regularly do, right? So we have obviously a lot of pickleball. We also have miniature golf. We have concerts both tonight and tomorrow. So we have, we have a Beatles cover band tonight. We have Heartburn playing tomorrow. And then, we just a lot of extra fun stuff that we threw in because it's the biggest weekend for us of the year.
I'm glad that he named who was going to be heartlining the concert series.
Yeah,
Beatles cover band and Heartburn.
Heartburn.
Is that what he said?
Yeah, don't know.
I don't know who that is. I mean, I think a Heartburn band. Heartburn pain under left breast. Thank you. What have I been Googling? Am I having a heart attack or is my digestion bad? Oh, it's a Talking Heads tribute band.
Oh, Heartburn.
Heartburn. David Byrne. Okay, well, now I like it. Great. Okay, cool. Good to know.
All right, so that sort of wraps up Steve Kuhn. He's the guy who thinks pickleball will save America.
Save the world.
Mostly because he's really invested in it.
Honestly, I've heard worse things that will save America. Yeah. Fine.
Next up is Larry Ellison. Have you heard that name before?
No.
He's the billionaire founder of Oracle Software. So Larry owns Indian Wells Tennis Garden, which is a huge tennis complex in California. Mm-hmm. That complex hosted the USA Pickleball annual tournament from 2018 all the way till 2023 before it just moved to Dallas.
Okay.
So Larry offered up his giant complex to host pickleball. And I think he's also invested in other ways in the game.
Man, how do you get rich enough to have some sort of complex?
Yeah, you got a complex. Here is Larry Ellison giving the 2016 commencement speech at USC, giving some really practical modern job advice.
Uh-oh.
Soon, many of you will begin a new job. I hope it interests you and challenges you and rewards you with a sense of purpose and satisfaction. But if it doesn't, keep searching. It's out there. It might take a while, but keep searching until you find a job that ignites your passions, like I did.
That's where CBS chose to end it.
Did someone give him a muscle relaxer before he started?
It seriously seems like it. I also love that his main thing is keep looking for a job.
Yeah.
Eventually you will find a job that solves all your problems, like mine.
Yeah.
I have no problems because I love my job.
Because I love my job. I mean, every time I see a graduation speech, I'm transported back to my own graduation, which I don't even fucking remember who was speaking. I was so angry that I had to graduate because I loved college so much, and I was just hungover and texting the entire time. I don't remember a thing.
You grabbed the thing and moved on.
Yes.
Okay, so the next contributor to the pickleball craze is a guy named Gary Vaynerchuk. Do you know Gary V?
No.
No? So
why would I know Gary V?
Gary V is a guy that you wouldn't know because you're not a white male. But
Thank God.
Gary V is on my TikTok and YouTube shorts and always posting videos about make more content. Start making content. Now he's always got this really positive energy where he's always encouraging people in speeches and TED Talk style talks, and he makes tons of content, and he's got his hands in every business imaginable, and he's a very bootstrap guy that has that narrative of I did it from nothing and you can
do it too.
I'll play a little video of him talking about pickleball and its potential future.
Okay.
Because he actually acquired a team in Major League Pickleball called the Fives because his favorite number is 5.
You said earlier when people are Gary, do you think pickleball is a fad? I'm
Everything has to evolve and be interesting, but few things I've seen in the last 30 years, and I pay a lot of attention to this, capture at the level of speed that are something that is humanly true. People want to be outside, people want to be in shape, people want to be active, people want to be competitive. Larry, I think, said, or Drew, like, people want to be social, the trash talk. Like, it's very clear that this has the ingredients. Another bet of why I think this is going to work is, I think there's really the elements on the two things that matter, right? And I think the NBA benefits from this currently, which is strong TV, strong in person. I think pickleball has those elements, and that gives it a lot of upside as a sport.
Now we're going to move into a sort of celebs who have gotten involved in pickleball section, and there are so...
Really?
Oh my God. Because like I mentioned earlier, this is seen as like a hot investment. I feel like everyone now in like modern sports wants to be like the next... LeBron has done a really good job of it, of like getting their name and brand out there and investing in upstart sports and other things because they're trying to use their money and assets and fame to become like a business leader.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing. So first off, there's going to be a lot of these. Kevin Durant, Drake, and Michael B. Jordan are all part of the ownership group of the Brooklyn Aces.
Are you serious?
Yep.
That's amazing.
Yeah, there's some videos of KD trying out pickleball, and he has to bend way down.
Did he do this because he was on the Nets at the time?
Yeah, he was on the Nets, and he has a tie to Brooklyn.
I see.
Michael Phelps, Devin Booker, Dierks Bentley, Larry Fitzgerald, chess prodigy Magnus Carlsen, and a bunch of other people are all part of the ownership group of the Arizona Drive.
That is
another
a
team.
very interesting
Yes.
mix of people.
I know. It's so weird. Hot investment. Everyone thinks this is going to be like the next 10x way to make money.
Interesting.
DC Pickleball was formed in December 2022. Part of that ownership group, Eva Longoria, Justin Verlander, who's a pitcher in the MLB, Kate Upton, Rip Hamilton, Odell Beckham Jr., NBA player Sean Marion. So, yeah.
Interesting.
Let's keep going. The
Fascinating.
Dallas Pickleball Club was formed in 2023 by Mark Cuban because he's
course,
already
naturally.
in Dallas. Dirk Nowitzki is part of the ownership group with him and a, I guess, avid pickleballer. Then Miami's Pickleball Club. This one's strange. Also formed in 2022. Naomi Osaka and Nick Kyrgios are behind the Miami one, as well as musician Kygo and Super Bowl champion Patrick Mahomes.
Interesting.
Is also bought into that. And
wait, who were the first two people?
the first two people were Naomi Osaka and Nick Kyrgios, famous tennis players.
I know Naomi's okay.
Kyrgios is a very fiery tennis player, current star. And Pat Mahomes.
Yeah, that's
He's
crazy.
in on that. Then Jason Tatum, Haley Jones, who's a WNBA player, Josh Allen, and Drew Brees are bought into the Los Angeles Mad Drops pickleball in the MLP.
Oh my God.
And if it wasn't investment bait enough, Tom Brady has bought into the Las Vegas team with Kim Clijsters, who's a famous tennis player. There's those. And then there's Brene Brown. Brene Brown. I'm going to have you read a little bit from the Texas Monthly article that talked to Brene Brown about pickleball.
Oh my God. Brown said she appreciates pickleball as a player because it demands extreme concentration. Quote, "It saves me. It's like the only place in my life where I'm not thinking about research or work or carpool," she said. Quote, "I have to take all notices off my watch because if I get a notice while I'm playing and I look, I'll take the ball to the face."
She owns part of Austin's pickleball team.
Brene.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So many celebs, so many business owners, and everyone is just going after this thing. And now that we've gone through how pickleball was founded and all the support that it's gotten from wealthy investors and celebrities, I did want to play you one final message in case you aren't already itching to buy your way into the pickleball space. And this is something, disclaimer, I made with AI.
Oh no. Oh God.
I'm Patrick Mahomes. There are so many problems with America, so many causes that could benefit from the input of our brightest minds and the financial support of our wealthiest business owners.
Brene Brown here. Last year, there were 650 mass shootings in the U.S. Tens of thousands more Americans were homeless in 2023 than in 2022.
This is Tom Brady. Post-pandemic, our education system is in shambles, and the rights of women, minorities, trans people, and pretty much anyone who is not a white man are constantly under attack.
Gary Vee here. That's why we're asking our fellow celebrities, athletes, and new money billionaires to join our cause.
and invest in pickleball.
Drake here. Yup, pickleball. Now we need more courts, more paddles, and more professionals.
It's not that loud.
It's not that loud.
It's not that loud.
It's not that loud.
Pickleball will save America.
Invest in pickleball today.
Invest in pickleball today.
Pickleball will save America. Invest in pickleball today.
Oh my God. It really sounds like them.
Yes.
That's so scary.
It is creepy.
Also, I love the words that you put in Tom Brady's mouth that he would absolutely never say.
I figured who was going to say that line. It's going to be Tom.
It's not that loud. Oh my God. Pickleball. It's not that loud. That's awesome. I can't believe you did that.
That's my answer to the Steve Kuhn.
That's so funny.
But yeah, there's so many celebs and they're all bought in. So are you bought in? Do you want to invest in pickleball?
I mean, I don't have the money to invest in pickleball. I will try it. I'll play. We'll play sometime. I don't believe what that guy said, that pickleball will save America. That being said, through this episode, I do think I have been more convinced that like it is beloved by a very large range of people who seemingly otherwise might not get along in any other circumstance. So it has some potential, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. I wouldn't put that much faith in it, but it does seem like a fun sport. I appreciate that it is like communal and accessible. I do think now that like so much money is getting involved, it'll probably be ruined, but we'll find out.
Yeah. So when you're, tuning in for March Madness later this month, flip over to YouTube or wherever pickleball is being broadcast. Maybe they got some TV deals now, and check out the MLP, because that might be our only hope as a country. We thank you for listening to another episode of our podcast. Like we said up top, if you want to support the show, hop over to Patreon, where you can subscribe for bonus episodes every month, or you can leave a review wherever you listen.
It's not that loud.
Do